So, Andy, can you introduce yourself?
My name is Andrew Engel, and I'm an attorney with the law firm of LakeToback. Our firm is a boutique practice that covers cases throughout the entire state of Illinois that specifically deal with family law issues. And under the family law umbrella, we concentrate on divorce, paternity, adoptions, and pre- and post-nuptial agreements.
Technology is becoming more and more important in any professional service, but particularly in areas where you've got a lot of deadlines, a lot of data, a lot of information. It seems to me that technology is becoming very important in legal offices. Can you tell us a little bit more about how important technology is for you guys?
Technology cuts both ways. It allows us to do some incredible things both in and outside of the office, but it never gives you a chance to really get away. We have clients who are going through extremely emotional times, and they need to reach you at all hours of the day. So between the BlackBerry and between the computer technology and the remote access, we really can provide pretty much uninterrupted 24-hour-a-day service for our clients. And sometimes that's exactly what they need, and sometimes it makes our jobs extremely difficult. But at the end of the day, when someone's going through a whirlwind emotional roller coaster, they want to make sure they can talk to their attorneys, and whether it's a quick email or a quick phone call, I think we do a pretty good job of getting back to them.
Well, and you're married, right?
I'm happily married.
Children?
I have a little boy.
So in that situation, now technology is making you available to everybody 24/7. How does technology help you in terms of not making it so crazy that you're never able to get any time away?
Well, a perfect example was this morning. I was able to wake my son up and give him a bottle, and then before I did that, I was able to respond to any pressing emails that needed to get out before, the day started, and then I was able to drive downtown and show up for court and do our thing. But technology allows you to get your work done regardless of where you're at.
Let's kind of go back a little bit. When you first came across CMIT, you were having some real problems with technology. Can you tell us a little bit about those and what that was costing you?
I specifically was probably receiving 50 to 100 spam emails every day, and it really interrupted my ability to use my BlackBerry and my email effectively because I spent so much time sorting through the garbage emails that every once in a while I would miss an important one. So we reached out to Jerry and his team, and they immediately came in and addressed the situation, and I now maybe receive one spam email a week, and that boost by them really has helped us tremendously.
Something that a lot of people don't think about, because spam happens, happens every time you open your computer and you delete a few and you don't realize how much, but you said 50 to 100, so you think 75 is a pretty good average?
Sure.
So that was 75 a day. How do you think that compares to the rest of the people in your office?
I think the range would be very similar.
So if we said 75, and how many do you have in your office altogether?
There would probably be 10 to 15 on any given day.
So if we took 10 to 15, so let's take 12. Let's be more conservative. So if we did that, then every day you're dealing with 900 spam. When those spam come through, how much time would you say that you're taking to go through that 75 spam?
Just to be simple, even if you said 5 seconds an email just to read it and understand that it was garbage, you're talking about a lot of time that Jerry and his team have now given back to us that we can use more effectively.
Well, so let's do the math here just a little bit. If we got 5 seconds per email times 900 spam a day, that's 4,500 seconds a day. And you multiply that times 250 workdays a year, that's 1,125 seconds per year, divided by 60 gives us 18,750 minutes. Divide by 60 minutes, we get 312.5 hours. And then you divide that by 40 hours, and that gives us 7.8 work weeks. And now if we finish the math, this will vary with company to company, but in your law firm, you've got rainmakers who are making way more than this, and staff who are, they're probably not making a whole lot less than this, but let's just pick $60,000 as an average annual salary, which is quite low. Divided by 12 months, you've got $5,000 a month times 1.8 months. That's $9,000 a year lost in productivity just on spam alone.
Put it this way, I think that Jerry and his team are paid for by the hours they give us back on our spam alone. You talk about value purchases, especially in this tight economy, and people don't really do anything unless they can see the return on their investment. Right away, we're getting back more than we're putting out just on the spam alone.
So what else besides spam? What were other problems that you guys were having? Were you having any server crashes or anything like that?
Our server would crash often. there was at least one example a month where all of the computers in the office would be down, where nobody could access files, nobody could create new documents. You can't put a dollar sign on that.
And how long would it be down for?
Everywhere from a couple minutes to a couple hours. And
you just grind to a halt then, don't you?
Exactly.
Tell me about the transition, because a lot of people worry that, boy, how am I ever going to change from one guy to the next? And how did they handle that?
It's a very good question, and it's something that we face in our own business. When you switch from one lawyer to another, a big concern is, well, are things going to get lost in the shuffle? Is there going to be a seamless transition? And to speak to Jerry and his team, if you interviewed the other 11 people in our office, I think their first answer would be wow, service is much better. And then their next answer may be, we didn't even know we switched. All we knew is that we stopped getting spam and we stopped having computer problems. So to directly answer your question, I think that the transition has been tremendous.
Wow. Well, tell me a little bit more about CMIT. It's one thing for them to, button up your system and make sure that it's not going to be hacked and to keep it up and running. But how responsive are they? I mean, no system is perfect. There's always going to be issues. Just how quickly do they respond when you have a problem?
Jerry has given us his direct email. He's given us all of his team's direct email, cell phones, home phones. I had an issue a couple weeks ago on a Thursday night, and I talked to Jerry and his team, and it was a little bit late in the evening. It was 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I said, you know what, I don't want to bother you guys, and maybe we can deal with this tomorrow. And they said, no, this is our job. We need to fix this. This is important. And their team worked late in the evening to make sure that my problem was addressed, and I really appreciated it, and it allowed me to enjoy the rest of my evening.
It's one thing for one guy to be good, like Jerry, and you can trust the face of the franchise, but Jerry's backed up by several technicians. How have you found them to be? I mean, do they carry on that same kind of tradition of real excellence and complete service?
Well, I hate to be cheesy or use a cliche, but you're only as good as your weakest link, and there are no weak links in Jerry's team, and I think he does a real good job of picking the people that he strategically aligns himself with, and there's no real difference between working with Jerry or members of his team.
What about the fact that they were a franchise? Did that give you any additional comfort to know that this was not just Jerry Carson working out of his trunk, but it was a franchise that was backed up by a national organization? Was that important to you?
I think it was very important. I think that to know that there's a big team behind Jerry, it was very important when we made our decision.
Some technology folks are really easy to talk to. Some, when they open their mouth, make you feel like an idiot, or they're talking like another language. What's Jerry like when it comes to talking about not the technology so much, but your business issues and your problems, and talking to you about that? How is he in that respect?
I think Jerry is a tremendous asset to our firm, not only in dealing with computer issues, but in dealing with business and technology. He's pointed out a lot of things that we've taken under consideration and now do differently that help our business model as a whole. When you talk to Jerry, you don't get computer speak back to you, which I think is very important. I don't think in all the times I've ever talked to Jerry, we've used anything bigger than the word computer or backup or server, because my knowledge is limited to most people, just the daily use of the computer, and Jerry keeps things simple, which is helpful. When Jerry meets with an individual client, he wears the hat of that profession. So he comes in and he starts to think like a divorce lawyer. He starts to look at our software and he starts to throw ideas. How can this be better? How can I help you here? How can email be more efficient? Really, I think he's added a lot of neat suggestions that, again, we use on a daily basis and help run our business. And they've really helped the lawyers in the office capitalize on their time, because before, we couldn't use weekends, we couldn't use evenings, we couldn't use out-of-office hours to get things done, and now we have that capability.
So when you couldn't, what did you have to do? I mean, in other words, something comes up, and for whatever reason you have to work on a weekend, it's a deadline, or maybe something comes up over the weekend. What did they have to do?
You'd have to drive down to the city, you'd have to pay for parking, you'd have to take time away from your family, you'd have to do a lot, and it was part of the job, so it's what we did. And we did it with a smile on our face, but it's much better from my perspective to get something done. And sometimes you'll wake up in the middle of the night thinking about a case, and to just go downstairs and pop on the computer and check a file, it gives you a lot back. It gives you your time and control back.
So how far a drive do you have just from your house downtown?
This morning it took me an hour and a half. I'm hoping this evening it takes me 45 minutes.
Oh, wow. So if we figured on the weekend maybe less traffic, but in Chicago you never know if it's a Bears game, but that could mean 2 hours of time just for your travel plus the parking, plus the gas, plus everything else. And it puts you under stress because, you should be home at your kid's birthday party, but your client needs you, so you do what your client needs. But all of that, all of that adds up. So beyond the pure out of pocket costs, which could be, I don't know how often people were going to have to go back to the office, but if you had just 5 or 6 people doing that once a week, you've got 10 to 12 hours a week of just pure dead time, of travel time, plus all the other stuff. And it must give your clients a great deal of comfort to know that you can take care of them wherever you are, even if you're on vacation.
We were on vacation 2 years ago over Christmas break, and when we left, we thought we had a deal done. We thought we had everything signed and ready to go, and a couple of days later, as it happens in a lot of our cases, something blew up a little bit, and I was out of the country. And a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have been able to deal with it. Someone else in my office would have taken time out of their schedule to deal with it, which is fine, but it's inconvenient, and it may take their mind off of other things. But
well, and your client's got to be a little bit worried that somebody else is taking, on one hand, is the fact that you get to take a vacation, on one hand, some people might listen to that and say, hey, that's what I'm paying those lawyers big bucks for. But, I talked to a lawyer one time, and he says, I took a vacation once and lost a client, and I haven't taken one since. And that was the most stressed out person I've ever seen. And that is not something that's good for your clients.
No, your clients want you well rested and sharp, and sometimes, although lawyers have a bad name, they are human too, and they do need a vacation from time to time.
Right.
But even when you're on vacation, if something comes up and it's pressing and it needs attention, then you need to deal with it. And the technology that Jerry and his team have provided for us allow us to do that.
Great. Any last thing that you'd like to say for anybody that's thinking about working with Jerry Carson and CMIT?
Well, I think the combination of their technology and their intelligence and their customer services is very hard to beat. And going from where we were at to where we are now, if you polled everybody in our office, I think you'd get A-pluses across the board. So I'm extremely happy with Jerry and his team and the service they've provided for us, and I really appreciate it. It allows me to effectively serve my clients and do the best job I possibly can.